Hello and welcome to quiz class. I'm your host, Ellen, and today we have 100 questions on World War II. Let's take a look at our quiz class awards. Please let us know how you rank in the comments at the end, along with the answer to the bonus question. So let's begin. What was the name of the Nazi plan to invade Ireland during World War II? Operation Clover, Operation Shamrock, or Operation Green? Operation Green. Who was the only Japanese American soldier to receive the Medal of Honor for the war? Ben Kuroki, Mike Masaoka, or Sadao Munimori? Sadao Munimori. What World War II British weapon was intended for use during a beach invasion? Flamethrower, tank, or hand drum? Hand drum. Which German U-boat was captured by the Allies in 1944? U-999, U-505, or U-820? U-505. What was the primary objective of the British Operation Tracer? Training troops, attacking naval base, or secret observation? Secret observation. What camouflage method did the Royal Navy use to disguise merchant ships from enemy submarines? Dazzle painting, reverse mirroring, or sea mist coating? Dazzle painting. Which World War II American general was nicknamed Vinegar Joe? Mark W. Clark, Joseph Stilwell, or Joseph Collins? Joseph Stilwell. What was the purpose of the Ghost Army deployed by the U.S. in 1944? Misleading Germans, giving medical aid, or collecting data? Misleading Germans. What secret mission led to the death of Admiral Osaruko Yamamoto in 1943? Operation Tokai, Operation Rising Sun, or Operation Vengeance? Operation Vengeance. Who was the leader of the Polish underground resistance during the Warsaw Uprising? Władysław Anders, Józef Beck, or Tadeusz Komorowski? Tadeusz Komorowski. What 1945 bombing raid on a German city is still debated due to questionable strategic value? The Dresden bombing, Hamburg bombing, or Leipzig bombing? The Dresden bombing. Which World War II battle was the first major defeat of the Axis powers in Africa? Battle of Tripoli, Second El Alamein Battle, or Siege of Tobruk? Second El Alamein Battle. What material was smuggled from Norway to sabotage Germany's nuclear ambitions? Cobalt, graphene, or heavy water? Heavy water. What happened during the Port Chicago disaster of 1944 in California? Bomb blast, ammunition ship exploded, or naval base was attacked? Ammunition ship exploded. Which World War II general was the first Supreme Allied Commander Europe in 1951? George C. Marshall, Douglas MacArthur, or Dwight Eisenhower? Dwight Eisenhower. What type of vehicle was the German Schwimmwagen that was widely used during World War II? Mobile command car, radio jamming truck, or amphibious car? Amphibious car. Which 1935 Nazi propaganda film was directed by Leni Riefenstahl? The Triumph of Fire, The Berlin Wall Rise, or Triumph of the Will? Triumph of the Will. Which World War II pigeon received the Dickin Medal for delivering a critical message after being injured? Winky, Victory Wings, or Skybolt? Winky. What made the American M18 Hellcat tank destroyer unique compared to other World War II tanks? It was heavier, it had a better gun, or it was faster? It was faster. Which Allied general demanded unconditional surrender from all German forces? Harold Alexander, Churchill, or Eisenhower? Eisenhower. Which German ship was torpedoed by a Soviet submarine in 1945? SS Barland, Wilhelm Gustloff, or August Wright? Wilhelm Gustloff. Which German city was captured by Soviet troops in April 1945? Berlin, Stuttgart, or Frankfurt? Berlin. Which lesser-known World War II battle was Finland's resistance against Soviet aggression? The Winter War, Siege of Sevastopol, or Battle of Lake Ladoga? The Winter War. What board game did British intelligence use to hide secret maps? Scrabble, Monopoly, or backgammon? Monopoly. Which German city became a symbol of U.S.-Soviet cooperation when troops met there in April 1945? Torgau, Cologne, or Dresden? Torgau. Which German self-propelled anti-aircraft gun was nicknamed the Whirlwind? Ostwind, Kugelblitz, or Flankpanzer IV? Flankpanzer IV. What major World War II conference was held in 1943 and gathered Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin? Tehran Conference, Yalta Conference, or the Casablanca Conference? Tehran Conference. What was the role of the Monuments Men during and after World War II? loot Nazi treasures, preserve architecture, or recover stolen art? Preserve architecture. Which 1944 battle was the largest engagement ever fought by the U.S. Army? Battle of Aachen, Battle of Reims, or Battle of the Bulge? Battle of the Bulge. What was the purpose of Germany's Operation Bernhardt? Poison Allied food shipments, destabilize Britain's economy, or destroy Soviet bridges? Destabilize Britain's economy. What was Hitler's reason for launching the Ardennes offensive in December 1944? Stop Allied use of the Belgian port, siege Allied factories in Belgium, or rescue Rommel's trapped forces? To stop Allied use of the Belgian port. Which 1944 World War II operation involved the U.S. air striking the Japanese base at Truk Lagoon? Operation Anvil, Operation Aphrodite, or Operation Hailstone? Operation Hailstone. Which 1941 song by the Andrews Sisters became a hit among both troops and civilians during World War II? Chattanooga Choo Choo, In the Mood, or Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy? Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy. Near what town was Hitler's Wolf's Lair located? Tilsit, Königsberg, or Kettersinn? Kettersinn. Which 1942 film was set in French Morocco and was based on the themes of World War II? Casablanca, The Great Escape, or The Longest Day? Casablanca. Which Allied leader was known for his V for Victory hand gesture? Franklin D. Roosevelt, Joseph Stalin, or Winston Churchill? Winston Churchill. Which country had the highest military and civilian death toll in World War II? The Soviet Union, Germany, or China? The Soviet Union. What offensive warfare method did Germany use in the early war years? Stuka strike, blitzkrieg, or panzer push? Blitzkrieg. Who composed the patriotic World War II song Praise the Lord and Pass the Ammunition? Cole Porter, Irving Berlin, or Frank Loesser? Frank Loesser. Which future U.S. president served as a naval officer in the Pacific during World War II? Dwight Eisenhower, Richard Nixon, or John F. Kennedy? John F. Kennedy. What popular style of women's fashion emerged due to fabric rationing? Utility suit, midi skirts, or flapper dresses? Utility suit. What vehicle was produced for American forces and became a civilian favorite post-war? Chevrolet Nova, Ford Thunderbird, or Willys MB? Willys MB. Which Axis capital was the first to fall to the Allies? Berlin, Rome, or Tokyo? Rome. What was the name of Hitler's fortified retreat in the Bavarian Alps? Berghof, the Grey Lodge, or Bavarian House? Berghof. Which 1944 Allied operation was a failed attempt to capture bridges in the Netherlands? Neptune, Cobra, or Market Garden? Market Garden. Which German film actress fled Nazi Germany and starred in Hollywood anti-Nazi films during the war? Marlene Dietrich, Zara Leander, or Leni Riefenstahl? Marlene Dietrich. Which U.S. comic book character debuted in 1941, punching Hitler on the cover? Captain America, Superman, or Batman? Captain America. Which 1942 film starred Greer Garson and portrayed a British housewife's wartime resilience? The English Patient, Random Harvest, or Mrs. Miniver? Mrs. Miniver. Which French fashion designer was accused of collaborating with the Nazis during World War II? Jean Lanvin, Elsa Schiaparelli, or Coco Chanel? Coco Chanel. Who issued the Executive Order 9066, which led to Japanese-American internment? Franklin D. Roosevelt, Dwight Eisenhower, or Herbert Hoover? Franklin D. Roosevelt. Which bomb was created by British engineer Barnes Wallis to destroy dams? Aqua bomb, screaming bomb, or bouncing bomb? Bouncing bomb. Which 1940s jazz hit became popular with both Allied and Axis troops, including German soldiers? Lily Marlene, Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy, or In the Mood? Lily Marlene. Which Taiwanese singer was known as the soldier's sweetheart during World War II? Teresa Tang, Wen Jia, or Lai Bizia? Teresa Tang. Which now famous Parisian fashion designer closed her fashion house during World War II? Elsa Schiaparelli, Coco Chanel, or Christian Dior? Coco Chanel. Which U.S. Army nurse was the first to die in combat during World War II? Ruby Bradley, Aletta Esther Lutz, or Cordelia Cook? Aletta Esther Lutz. Which small device was used by American paratroopers on D-Day to identify Allies in the dark? Torchlights, rocket beacons, or clippers? Clippers. Which Nazi resistance group secretly distributed anti-Hitler leaflets until they were executed? Ironhearts, the White Rose, or Storm Owls? The White Rose. What was the code name for the U.S. project that trained bats to carry small incendiary bombs? Project X-Ray, Operation Batwing, or Operation Firebat? Project X-Ray. What was the code name used by the RAF for strips of aluminum foil dropped to jam German radar? Operation Foil, Operation Radar, or Operation Window? Operation Window. Which British infantry weapon used a spigot mortar mechanism? PIAT, Blunderbuss 57, or Patriot? PIAT. Which floating artificial harbors did Allied engineers build to make unloading at Normandy easier? Rockpile, Mulberry, or Phoenix harbors? Mulberry harbors. What radio navigation system allowed Bomber Command to find targets at night with accuracy? Gee, Rhubarb, or Carnaby? Gee. Which Special Operations Unit observed and raided Axis lines in North Africa? Desert Commandos, LRDG, or NARG? LRDG. Which Finnish sniper had over 500 confirmed kills and was given the nickname White Death? Vasily Zaitsev, Mikhail Ivanov, or Simo Haiha? Simo Haiha, or Heiha. Which British bouncing bomb project was used to attack German dams in 1943? Operation Chastise, Operation Dam, or Operation Ripple? Operation Chastise. What name did the Japanese give to their rocket-powered kamikaze glider? Kika, Type 5 Kaiten, or Ohka? Oka, or Ohka. Which 1943 British novel by Elizabeth Bowen is set during the Blitz and explores fractured relationships? The Heat of the Day, The Inglorious Soldier, or The Secret Keeper? The Heat of the Day. Which British project intended to construct aircraft carriers out of pyrites? Project Harrier, Project Habakkuk, or Project Heliport? Project Habakkuk. What was the nickname for the British amphibious swimming tanks? Fish tanks, sea tigers, or Donald Duck tanks? Donald Duck tanks. What class of Japanese submarine was built to carry and launch two Aichi M6A Siren floatplanes? HA-201, I-168, or I-400 class? The I-400 class. Which U.S. logistical convoy system was staffed largely by African American soldiers? Red Ball Express, Diamond Convoy, or Spade Line? Red Ball Express. Station X was the cover name for which World War II code-breaking center? Pinewood Studios, Dover Research, or Bletchley Park? Bletchley Park. Operation Olympic and Operation Coronet were sequential parts of which canceled World War II plan? Operation Downfall, Invasion of Okinawa, or Operation Valkyrie? Operation Downfall. Beach Jumpers was the nickname for a U.S. Navy unit specializing in what kind of warfare? Mine clearing, tactical deception, or amphibious assaults? Tactical deception. Which type of animal received the most Dickin medals for service during World War II? Pigeons, horses, or dogs? Dogs. Operation Pluto supplied fuel to Allied forces via what? Tanker convoys, undersea pipelines, or aerial fuel drops? Undersea pipelines. DUKW vehicles were first used in which 1943 operation? Operation Torch, Operation Avalanche, or Operation Husky? Operation Husky. Which synthetic rubber substitute did Nazi Germany produce during World War II? Buna S, neoprene, or polychloroprene? Polychloroprene. Buna S. What nickname did German troops give the all-female Soviet night bombers flying PO-2 biplanes? Night Witches, Iron Maidens, or Black Swans? Night Witches. The Spanish Blue Division fought alongside German forces primarily around which besieged Soviet city? Leningrad, Stalingrad, or Moscow? Leningrad. What was the name of the main Greek resistance army formed in 1942 under Axis occupation? The EDES, ELAS, or EKKA? ELAS. Elas. The Brazilian expeditionary force in Italy was known by what snake-themed name? Smoking snakes, green vipers, or iron cobras? Smoking snakes. Which advanced German U-boat class was known as the Electric Boat? Type 7C, Type 21, or Type 9C? Type 21. In the Wehrmacht order of battle, the Spanish Blue Division was given which infantry division number? The 250th, 150th, or 101st? 250th. Which French director made the Allied film This Land Is Mine in 1943? Marcel Carné, Jose Giovanni, or Jean Renoir? Jean Renoir. Who was the first woman to be sent to occupied France in World War II and had the code name Madeline? Violetta Szabo, Odette Sansom, or Noor Inayat Khan? Noor Inayat Khan. What was the code name of the first British airborne raid of World War II? Operation Torch, Operation Colossus, or Operation Claymore? Operation Colossus. Which 1943 Disney animated short portrayed the indoctrination of a German boy? Education for Death, Saludos Amigos, or The Spirit of 43? Education for Death. Which daughter of Winston Churchill served as an officer in the Auxiliary Territorial Service? Diana, Sarah, or Mary Churchill? Mary Churchill. Which Vogue photographer documented the liberation of Dachau for Vogue in 1945? Lee Miller, Dorothea Lange, or Carolyn Cole? Lee Miller. What Japanese battleship was sunk during the U.S. Navy's Operation Ten-Go in April 1945? Nagato, Musashi, or Yamato? Yamato. What tiny folding motorcycle was issued by the British Special Operations Executive during World War II? Parabike, air scooter, or well bike? Well bike. Which 1943 U.S. voice encryption system was codenamed Green Hornet? Sig Sally, Red Line, or Blue Network? Sig Sally. What modular portable truss bridge was developed by British engineers in 1940-41? Bridgemaster, Bailey Bridge, or Bailey Truss? Bailey Bridge. What ground scanning radar system was first tested in 1942 and improved night bombing accuracy? H2S, AI-MK4, or H2X? H2S. Which World War II physician helped develop large-scale blood banks early in the war? Archibald McIndoe, Norman Bethune, or Charles R. Drew? Charles R. Drew. What was the code name for the firebombing of Tokyo on March 9 and 10, 1945? Operation Starvation, Operation Meeting House, or Operation Strangle? Operation Meeting House. Which chamber work did Olivier Messiaen compose while imprisoned at Stalag 8A? Symphony for the Captives, Prisoners' Canticle, or Quartet for the End of Time? Quartet for the End of Time. What nickname did British crews give the Sherman tank fitted with a rotating flail to clear mines? The crab, the claw, or the clam? The crab. Which U.S. Army Ranger battalion scaled the cliffs at Pointe du Hoc on D-Day? 5th Ranger, 1st Ranger, or 2nd Ranger? Second Ranger Battalion. And for our bonus question, the German code name for the offensive aimed at eliminating the Soviet salient around Kursk was what? Let us know the answer in the comments and, of course, how well you did with our quiz class Einstein Rewards. Thanks for playing, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.